Hey, so we're taking a break from the backyard for a little bit here for a couple of weeks, and I'm working on another front yard project. This one is digging a pond, this time on Make and Believe. All right, someone's hard at work relocating plants in her new coveralls. Very nice, very nice. As you can see, we've already gotten started here on digging the area for our pond, and of course we wanted to put it right where we've got a pipe, an irrigation pipe already running through. No problem though, I'm going to relocate that pipe. You can see I've started to dig a little channel out to bring it to the side here. We're going to put it at a 90-degree angle and bring it all the way down here, and somewhere about this corner is where this riser that's sticking up now in the middle, it's going to stick up over here in the corner. Our channel will continue to come back over to where the pipeline meets. So I'll have to dig a little bit further back in order to connect to that pipe. But instead of just doing another elbow there, we're going to do a T, and we're going to take it out a little farther and put another riser up over here so that we've got more options for water out to use for various purposes like drip systems and sprinkler heads. So that's the project. Here we go. Okay, so we are getting there with the digging. I have made my trench deep enough now so that it will be at the same level where the pipe that originally existed was laying. I've gone a little bit deeper here at this end, and then at that end down there, then the pipe is. I dug out underneath it so that I can A, get a clean cut on it, and then B, have room underneath without messing with dirt to affix the new fittings when it's time to do that job. And my trench is looking pretty good. Got a good right angle over here for my elbow. So now what I need to do is figure out what pieces that I need, make a Home Depot run, have all my parts in order before I do the actual surgery here to remove this pipe. I have in my scrap pile a couple of very long lengths of 1-inch pipe, so that's awesome. That's plenty of pipe combined with this pipe that I'm planning to reuse as much as possible in order to get this rerouting job done and still have a bunch of pipe left over. So that's good. So let's start with fittings over here. This is where the water enters the pipe originally, and it went that way down towards the tree where there is another fitting. We're just going to be circumventing the pond space, so I want to start with an elbow that bends it this way and tacks it down through my trench. And I've got that elbow, one inch to 1 inch slip joint. These are just PVC pieces that I had in my bin from past projects that weren't used, so yay. I've got another elbow here to bend it this way again, take it down the line. I've got another leftover elbow here to turn it again. And then when we get to this junction, we're going to do a T so that the pipe can continue on down here and come back up with another riser and another cap until we figure out what we want to do with that, be it sprinkler system, be it drip system, whatever my wife desires. And then on the other end of this T, we will rejoin to the original pipe to continue the original irrigation track for this line. So what I'm missing, so it looks like I've got most of the pieces here. What I'm missing is in the corner here, I'm going to need a 1-inch elbow that turns into a slip elbow, that is, no threads, just slip in. And then that'll turn into a 1/2 inch threaded socket, just like what we see here, so that I can put a riser in with a cap on it with a thread at the other end. That'll come up over there. Now, this one, as you can see, this pipe running along here that I'm going to try to reuse to make this section on the far side. My riser coming up is actually in the middle of this pipe. And when I get to this side of it, I want it to be way over here on the end. So I'm going to have to cut this pipe and put it back together again to get the best use out of it. So I'm also going to need, that's a 1-inch pipe along the bottom, just like these 1-inch pipes. I'm going to need a 1-inch to 1-inch slip coupler. So I'm going to make my Home Depot list now. It's really just down to that one slip coupler, although I'll probably get two because, you know, you never know. And it's good to have them in storage for the next project if you don't use it for this one. And then I'm going to get that 1 inch to 1/2 inch slip to threaded elbow to bring my riser up. I'm also going to get another riser, and I'm going to get another cap. And then I think we should be good to go to perform this surgery. And back from the hardware store, I have my 1 inch to 1 inch slip coupler that I needed. I also got an extra riser and cap, and I've gone ahead and pre-threaded that with some pipe tape because I'm going to replace that one. It's just too darned tall. And then here, I've got that riser and pipe cap and the 1 inch slip to 1/2 inch threaded elbow fitting that will make this pipe pop up when we're ready to attach that to the T. So now it's time to do some surgery. Next thing to do is to cut here and cut there and take this whole pipe assembly out and then start rerouting it from scratch piece by piece. All right, I've made my cuts. I got my pipe out. I actually snipped the end of it off over here once I measured out exactly where I wanted that to be in proportion to the overall pipe layout. This is my nub, this really, really dirty one that clearly just came out of the ground. So next, I'm going to start from the water entrance end and start building my pipe out along the whole canal here until I get to the end and everything's back assembled. Okay, so to put our fittings together, we are going to be using Christie's Red Hot Blue Glue. There are a number of PVC solvents. I'm not saying this is the only thing you need and this is the one to die by, but this works pretty well for PVC pipes, and I'm going to use it because I like the amount of working time it gives you in order to get the seal right before it solidifies. And it's a pretty quick application. Inside, once you unscrew this lid, there's a ball hanging from a stick, and that ball is your applicator, so you make sure it's nice and gooey. You move it around one of the surfaces and then around the inside of the other surface and put your two surfaces together, swivel it to where you want it to be, and let it set. Okay, so before I actually set this elbow onto the pipe that's inset in the ground, I want to go ahead and prep it first. I want to add the extension pipe that's going to be for this first segment so that it's ready to put in, and I also want to put the elbow on the other end so that those two elbows are in line with each other at 90-degree angles, so that when I put this one piece on and drop it in, everything's lined up and it's perfectly set for the next section. All right. After gluing everything together, the full system is now in place. We'll close back up again tight, and you're going to get the impulse if you're doing this yourself right now to go ahead and bury this pipe because you're done. Everything's set. Yay! But what you really want to do is give this 24 hours and then run a water test. This stuff sets up pretty quickly, so like, you know, honestly, 20-30 minutes, it's pretty well set so that you can't move it or change anything. Actually, 5 minutes, and it's actually tacked. But you really want to wait 24 hours to give it a full cure before you start running water through the pipes because you don't want to cause any damage to that glue while it sets up. So I'm going to leave this overnight. I'm going to come back tomorrow. I'm going to run a water pressure test to make sure that the pipe is not leaking at any of these junctions that I just installed, and to make sure that my caps are also sealed, both at the cap size and at the end of the riser where it joins the pipe on both of those junctions. So we'll do that. We'll come back tomorrow, and if everything's set then, I will be able to take some of this lovely dirt that I have excavated and bury my trench back up and start to work on the main pond itself. All right, so I gave the system a test, and it looks pretty good all the way around until we get to this T-junction. I had just the teeniest of leaks, so I went ahead and repaired that, changed it out for a whole new T-valve, and rejoined to all three of these angles. Of course, the most complicated juncture is where the problem was. At any rate, we're good to go now. I am going to leave that junction open to test it tomorrow and make sure that that leak has been handled. But the rest of this can get buried at least the channel, with some of the dirt that I put out in the middle because I've run out of buckets to fill. So it's time to put some dirt back into this channel and tamp it back down again so that I can focus on the pond itself. Okay, so now that we have relocated our pipe and installed our irrigation, my lovely wife is working on shaping the pond itself. So you can see she's got a line cut back here where that's our target of where that edge is going to be. The rest of these edges are shaping up quite nicely. We've gone ahead and started to cut. I'm using a hammer and chisel to cut some shelves so that we can lay larger rocks along the inside edge of the pond. That is the plan.
And plants.
And plants. Not to forget plants. And then we've got a deeper portion here at the end where we're going to have our waterfall pour into, and it kind of moves up to a more shallow beach-like area. So that is the general plan. We're going to continue shaping this until we are ready to work on the underlayment. Okay, so the pond is starting to take shape nicely. Our little shelve areas for rocks to sit on and hold our liner in place are looking good, and I have now started to cut a bit of a trench back to the sidewalk and then down the edge of the sidewalk back to the house. I'm about midway through that process now. I'm getting to about where the bricks start, or the rocks start. And this trench is going to house a pipe, probably a 1-inch pipe that holds a power cable that delivers power from an outlet that we're going to install in the front of our house, or an electrician, more accurately, is going to install in the front of our house, to power our waterfall. That's going to be right here at the deep end. So that is the plan there. We're getting there. I'm going to continue on this trench while Tiffany continues to mold and shape the edges here, and then we should be in a good place probably by the end of the day to start getting the underlayment and the pond liner in. Right, we are at that step where we have rolled out the underlayment, not the pond liner yet. This goes underneath the pond liner, and Tiffany is kindly testing it to make sure that it works properly. So we're going to trim this up, we're going to get it in the position we want it to be, and then we're going to add the pond liner, and then we can start putting rocks around the edges to hold everything in place. Our pond pump did arrive in the postal mail, so we're pretty much getting ready to go here. Fun times. All right, we have got the waterfall. I think this might be what we want.
After much trial and error.
Yeah, I think this is what, the 4th attempt at making a waterfall not look like just a pile of rocks. And it still kind of looks like a pile of rocks, but it looks like a very waterfall-y kind of pile of rocks. And I think once we have the rest of the edge of the pond done, it'll be a lot more seamless. And once the liner disappears around the edging. So we've started to fill up the pond on top of the liner, and we've just gotten to about a little bit above the top of the pump so far, but we're going to go ahead and fill it some more before we give it a test whirl and see how our waterfall looks.
Filling the pond with some water also helps to hold the liner down.
That's right.
So that we have enough liner before we put the final rocks around the edge. So we'll do a waterfall test, and then we'll have to fill it a little bit more.
Yep, we're getting there, step by step. All right, things are coming along. We are starting to fill up the water level past our pump so we can test our waterfall. And we've got rocks coming along the outside edge here, although they may not be exactly where they're going to end up. It's a start. Okay, so yesterday we made a lot of good progress. However, what we realized, and we pulled the hose out here to eliminate this problem temporarily while still circulating our water. But that hose will get tucked back up into our water feature when we're ready. What we've realized is that our liner is, there's a slight slope of the hill here. We thought we had everything pretty level. We used a 6-foot level to go across, and it looked pretty good, to be honest, but I guess we didn't get it that way as level as possible. And there's a slight slope down here towards the pathway that leads up to the door of our home. And as you can probably see here on camera, yep, we've got a little bit of wetness, and it's in just the absolute worst place, which is where our electrical cord channel is running back. So we're going to fix that today. We're going to go in and carefully take apart some of our water feature, and we are going to build up the slope underneath so that our liner has an angle that is pointed towards the pond as opposed to sloping away. And then we should be all set with that to put our water feature back together again and continue to fill this up to the top and put the rest of our stones and plants in around the edges. She thought I was okay, so she stepped off that train with a high hat, a piccolo and a cane.
Okay, so we have leveled out this area here to accommodate for an issue of flooding on the side. We had to build a little valley here and a dam, and we also pulled the liner up behind these rocks. So we had to undo the whole waterfall, which was kind of annoying, but we did it, and luckily we decided to do a test run before fully assembling it because we had forgotten to put the hose back through.
Nice.
And it was much easier to do it at this stage than it would have been if it was complete. So here's what our waterfall, once we get the capstone and all the rest of the stones put, how it will flow, and we can see that the water is all going into the pond as opposed to off the side edge. So that is corrected.
Cool. And just to make sure, it's all dry over here now, which is awfully nice. We like dry.
We also lowered this edge just a little bit.
That's
it would
true.
have been okay, but now we'll
it's better.
see less of the black liner since we're on a hill, a slope, and this side is lower. We had to level it a little bit more.
Pond perfection. Let's put this feature back together.
Ah, la la la. We finally got the stream correct. So obviously it's coming from a hose down here, which we'll pull back and cover, but it was shooting out, even with a lowered flow. And that looked really artificial. So we finally got the proper rock to kind of help break the flow.
Yeah, I'm gonna come around and get a better shot of it actually, because it's so pretty. The lighting is weird because we're like half in shadow, but it looks really, really natural now. It's got a nice flow down the face of these rocks, which are all angled properly, to bring all of our water back into our pond with no leaks. Yeah, this is looking great. Nice work. This is the superstar right here. She did it.
Okay, so we have finished all of the rocks around the pond, and I've started doing plantings as well, and now I'm just topping it off. See if I can get it to the full level. And then we'll do a tour of the finished result. Ta-da! Magic! We have a pond. It's only been 6 or 5 or 4 years
In the making, yeah.
in the making of there being a mush pot of garden clippings in the center and not planting anything yet because I was holding out for the pond, and I'm very glad that I held out. I think it turned out really good, and I personally love it. So these plants will grow in, and I have a few more in pots still that I need to plant, but I really love having the beautiful waterfall, and I still need to put in my water plants, so we might do a future video once I get the water plants in. But here is the finished pond so far. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Make and Believe.